Well, today she will lie in repose at the Supreme Court as the country reflects and says goodbye to the esteemed jurist and the feminist icon. The public will get its chance to pay respects today following a private ceremony at the Supreme Court. Justice Ginsburg will be there through Thursday before becoming the first woman and the first Jewish American to lie in state in the U.S. Capitol. That'll happen on Friday. Meanwhile, last night, a stark contrast formed in Washington and on the campaign trail. Senate Democrats blasted their Republican colleagues over their efforts to fill the vacant seat before the election, leveling accusations of hypocrisy. And during a rally in Pennsylvania, President Trump touted a potential nominee while praising Senator Mitt Romney, who said yesterday he will vote for the president's pick. For the latest on this on Capitol Hill, let us bring in Nancy Cordes. All right, Nancy, so what did Democrats say last night? And you and I talked about this yesterday. There's not a lot that they can do to stop this.
Correct. So what they're trying to do is to lay out for the American people, and particularly for their supporters, how big the stakes are here, what a 6-3 Supreme Court could mean for people who share their progressive views going forward. So they're talking about the fact that equal pay could be in jeopardy, the fact that Roe versus Wade could be in jeopardy, the Affordable Care Act. They commandeered the Senate floor for 5 hours, making this case one by one. And what they really want to do is get their supporters activated, get them to rise up in opposition to this nomination. They believe that that's really the only way that they have a chance at slowing this down, at making Republican senators pause and believe that perhaps there is a political price to be paid for pushing through voting on confirmation for a Supreme Court nominee this close to an election. It is by no means guaranteed to work, but it is the best option Democrats have right now.
So you actually spoke to Senator Chris Murphy, a Democratic senator of Connecticut, yesterday. Let's play some of that sound.
Republicans are not going to be persuaded by parliamentary maneuvers that Democrats undertake. They're going to be persuaded by their constituents. And so we have to go out and build a national political movement in a very short amount of time to stop Republicans from appointing a judge to the Supreme Court that is going to criminalize abortion, is going to repeal the Affordable Care Act, is going to end universal background checks in this country. We have to go out and build that infrastructure very quickly.
Okay, so we don't know who the nominee is. We should make that clear, and have no idea what that person's intentions would be if they were to make it onto the Supreme Court. But keeping that in mind, when he talks about a national political movement, is it what you were just kind of talking about, that essentially trying to convince Republicans that there may be a price to pay and using constituents to do that?
Yes, they want people to be organizing protests. They want people to be donating money to Democratic campaigns. They want people to be swamping the switchboards here at the U.S. Capitol. Basically, they want the public to rise up. And, you know, they think that this close to an election, there's a chance that they could spook some Republican senators if those senators believe that their seats are in jeopardy if they take this vote. You know, we've already seen thousands and thousands of dollars pouring into the campaign coffers of Democratic challengers like John Hickenlooper in Colorado after Cory Gardner, the Republican senator, announced that he was looking forward to proceeding with this nomination, or for Jamie Harrison, the Democratic challenger in South Carolina. And you even heard Lindsey Graham, who's the chair of the Judiciary Committee, up for re-election in South Carolina, practically pleading on Fox News for supporters to give $5 or $10, anything they can, because he is being outraised. So yes, it's a long shot. It didn't work during the Kavanaugh confirmation process. We saw those big crowds protesting not just outside the Capitol, but actually inside these Senate office buildings, something that won't happen this time because the Senate is still locked down to visitors due to the pandemic. But it didn't work back then. They only got one Republican to vote against Justice Kavanaugh. That was Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. But still, it is the best tool they've got in their limited arsenal right now, and so they are going to use it to the hilt.
Nancy, you asked Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell about the accusations of hypocrisy and how he's handling this Supreme Court vacancy versus the one in 2016. Let's play that.
But do you understand why many Americans view this as a double standard? I can only repeat that we have an obligation under the Constitution, should we choose to take advantage of it, to fill the vacancy, and I assure you that's very likely to happen.
Should we choose to take advantage of it? You pointed out, Nancy, that the American people are suggesting that it looks hypocritical what Mitch McConnell and the Republicans are doing, but guessing that they're not worried that this decision to fill Justice Ginsburg's seat will impact them moving forward, even if they lose the majority. In other words, as you and I talked about this, and you had a great point yesterday, that this is what a United States senator generally lives for, the ability to place a Supreme Court justice on the highest court in the land, which will have repercussions for generations to come, long after these senators retire into the twilight, may be too great of an appeal versus even holding on to those majorities.
Exactly. And so it's not quite that they are not worried about accusations of hypocrisy or not worried about the possibility of political ramifications for pushing this through in an election year. It's that the prize is so great that it outstrips those concerns. The opportunity to confirm a Supreme Court nominee who will likely shift this court to the right, possibly for a generation, that is something that a lot of Republicans come to Congress to achieve. And so that is really the big prize here. That's why it took so little time for Republican senators to fall in line behind Mitch McConnell and say that they were going to do this, despite the fact that they argued exactly the opposite back in 2016 when President Obama announced his Supreme Court nominee some 8 months before the election. They're worried about those accusations. They certainly don't like being asked about hypocrisy and double standards, but they're willing to put up with it to achieve something that is so central to their reason for being here.
So, Nancy, I know you have to go soon. Quick question. The House passed a bill yesterday to avoid a government shutdown. Can you give us some details?
Sure. So this is a bill that would keep the lights on here on Capitol Hill and across the federal government from September until early December. The big problem is that Democrats stripped out something that Republican senators thought they had agreed to, which was aid to farmers who have been affected by President Trump's trade policies. Democrats felt that Congress shouldn't have to basically clean up for some of his policies, and so they stripped that out at the last minute. They also stripped out some food assistance as a concession of sorts. And so now the big question is, what does the Senate do when they take up this bill? Do they put that trade aid back in? And if they do, then the two sides kind of are at a standoff, and it's something that they need to work out by next week if they want to avoid a government shutdown.
All right, Nancy, thank you as always for that insight and your reporting. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.